It's a delight and privilege to catch up with Mr. Peter Holland. Peter is the CEO of the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness, or popularly called as IAPB. Thank you for taking the time, Peter.
Vinod, thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
And Peter, what is IAPB and what does IAPB do?
IIPPB is we're the overarching alliance for the global eye care sector. So we're a membership organisation. We've got over 150 members worldwide, and our members come from the NGO sector, from the private and corporate sector, eye hospitals, professional bodies, and academic institutions. And we do three main things. We lead on behalf of the sector on global advocacy, working health organization to really elevate eye health as a major issue globally. We try to connect our members' knowledge. So we published, for example, the Vision Atlas, which is probably the most authoritative source of data and information about eye care and eye health worldwide. And we bring our members together and help build partnerships with them and work with them to support them and work together around the world.
And you deal with some major issues, with regard to eye care. So just wondering, from your experience, what's the best way to approach, a big eye care issue, whether it's cataract or whatever it is? And how do you make it sustainable? How do you make sure governments get involved, all stakeholders get involved? And if possible, maybe could you throw an example in terms of how IAPB has dealt with one issue like that?
So that's a big question, and indeed it's a big challenge. And of course, eye health itself is a big global issue. You've got over a billion people around the world who don't have access to the basic eye care services that they need, and as a result have vision problems. And for many of them, as you know well, these are pretty straightforward problems. It's access to a pair of glasses or cataract operations, as you've described. So I think firstly, there are some key principles. So the first thing is, as you've mentioned, getting the attention of decision makers and policymakers and really elevating the issue so that they pay attention to it. And I think in terms of doing that, we have to make the case that eye care isn't just about a health issue. It has impact that goes much wider than that it impacts on people's ability to work, on people's ability to learn, just participate in daily lives. And eye care is really intrinsic to deliver the global sustainable development goals, which all governments have signed up to. I think the second principle in there is around the way that we work and integrate with other services. So I think eye care, there is an issue, I think, where eye care often operates in silos and outside mainstream services. And a critical part of making eye care sustainable, I think, is about how we work and integrate with other services, both in terms of provision, so making sure we're part of primary care services, for example, and that there are proper referral systems there, and in terms of financing, so that eye care is properly financed. And I think the other critical principle in that is around raising awareness, activating people, making sure that people are aware of their eye health needs and where they can get them. And so raising consumer awareness is, I think, a crucial part in terms of what we do.
And I understand you're putting together a new coalition to deal with refractive error. Just wondering whether you could kind of brief a little bit on that, and how do you think that's going to make a difference to people who don't have access to a pair of glasses at this stage? And also, how could more people partner in what you're trying to do?
So, Vinod, you asked in the previous question, I realized I didn't really answer it for a specific example, but I think it is relevant to this question around refractive error. So let me go back and answer that question first. Possibly one of the best examples of the eye health community coming together has been in tackling some of the neglected tropical diseases related to eye health. So things like trachoma, which I'm sure many of your listeners will know is an insect fly-borne disease, which can be really painful and ultimately cause blindness, and onchocerciasis or river blindness. And there we saw a partnership of the NGOs tackling the issue, working with the pharmaceutical sector, coming together over many years to firstly develop common approaches to the way that they tackle the problem, and then taking that partnership to governments to get the funding that they needed, and with that funding begin to make real inroads. And so even in the past year, we've seen the Gambia declare itself, be declared by the World Health Organization trachoma-free. And if the funding continues, which is a big if, it is possible that we'll see the elimination of those diseases over the next decade. And there, I mean, what you see is that you've got this partnership working together. You've got partnerships with other parts of the health system, with the neglected tropical diseases system, and you have patience. It's taken time to do that and work together, but that has led to the success that they've had. So I think that's what we're looking for in terms of refractive error. I mean, looking at refractive error, you've got over 650, 700 million people worldwide who have vision problems, who have refractive error problems, and don't have access to glasses. Indeed, it's potentially more than that. So it's a really significant issue. And therefore, any individual organization is not going to be able to solve that. So what we've got is a group of 22 NGO, private sector, social enterprises, and professional organizations have come together, recognizing that individually they can't solve this problem on their own, but collectively and together, the goal is to end refractive error and ensure that everybody who needs glasses will have access to them. So the coalition, I think, will be different because it brings together these very different partnerships, and crucially, it's a genuine partnership between all these players. And I think what that means is that the first thing that will do is it allows us to bring in together the different expertise and experience that the private sector, the NGO sector, the academic institutions, the professional bodies, social enterprises can really bring to the party. And crucially, what we're looking for is ways to scale services. We've got lots of solutions, lots of ways of reaching people, particularly the NGOs have real expertise in the ways to reach people in their communities. And the private sector bring lots of experience in the ways that you can scale up those services. And so we want to bring that experience, that expertise together, so we can get out into communities, we can reach people who don't have access to services, and really scale them up and make them sustainable in the long term. And that means you can bring the best of philanthropic approaches, the best of private sector approaches, the best of public sector approaches together in terms of doing that. And I think that probably means both working in terms of integrating in terms of health systems. It means around shaping markets, looking at the things that get in the way of efficient markets. That means that glasses can be sold cheaply, whether that means tackling regulatory systems that governments have, or indeed where they're taxed, where glasses are taxed as luxury goods, and looking at those obstacles and removing those obstacles. And then I think the final thing we really want to achieve is looking for new sources of funding. So again, taking that experience from the Trachoma Coalition, that if we have a really powerful coalition working together, makes it much more attractive for funders to put resources in behind the coalition, so we can really tackle the problem. And as I say, end uncorrected refractive error and ensure that everybody has access to glasses if they need them.
That sounds like a great initiative, Peter. I mean, I understand you spend quite a bit of time in India prior to this role. Just wondering what your favorite memories from India would be.
Yes, so you're right. I lived in India back in, now 20 years ago. and I was at the High Commission. I guess the favourite memory was that my son was born while we were out here. He had his first year and a half in India. Indeed, when we returned to the UK, he spoke Hindi. He didn't speak English, unfortunately, he doesn't remember any of that now. But he still really really wants to travel in India and will do so. And we had a fantastic time. It was a fantastic opportunity to see India, to learn about it, and made many friends while we're there. I miss it, and I love every opportunity I have to come back.
And thank you so much, Peter, for taking the time and talking to us.
Thank you very much, Vinod. It's been a pleasure.